Hello, everybody. So today I want to talk about Tesla. Tesla's in the news thanks to a Reuters new article and to an announcement of Elon Musk yesterday evening. I'm going to get to that first, but yes, I want to talk about Tesla. Tesla today, is the stock that is revolutionizing everybody's second largest consumer expense, which is your car, your vehicle. Yes, I am placing real estate in the category of stuff. It is an expense. Housing is the number one. The second largest right now is cars, and Tesla is disrupting cars. So they're disrupting an existing market, right? They're not creating induced demand. This is not a new product, right? This is an old new product in the case of cars, right? And we'll see. Only future will tell if they will actually create some induced demand and create a new market by actually introducing these Optimus bots, where the FUD machine is even stronger for the Optimus. But before I talk about the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you're not familiar with the term, I like that term actually, the FUD. Before do that, let me just set the scene and talk about the asset a second. This asset went from 550 million a year in revenue in late 2012 to 100 billion a year in revenue. That's today's run rate. That's a little more than 11 years. So the revenue did 200 times in 11 years. The revenue was multiplied by 200 in 11 years. In the history of assets, very few assets have ever grown at the speed of Tesla when you look back, when you look from afar. And if you compare kind of the slump in sales that we're having in Tesla and the disappointing deliveries that we had released a few days ago, it's very, very similar to what happened to them in late 2018 throughout mid 2020, where they had a year and a half, nearly 2 years depending on where you look, of flat sales. And this tells me that the year might not be the right time frame of analysis for Tesla. Really, we might want to look at this stock in 5-year chunks. And of course, that doesn't fit into any of the analysts' prediction because analysts predicts 12 months a year out. And of course, if the car business, if the car market is to the point that really we should think in 5 years chunks of time, in 5-year periods, which is probably what we should do, given that we have a slowdown in sales right now. We can still see that the revenue has had this major jump. I mean, how many times do I have to say this, right? 200 times. The revenue grew 200 times in 11 years. Can it grow another 10x? Can this be a $1 trillion in sales company? In my view, I think so. I have no reason to believe they won't, especially as inflation keeps going, especially as the value of the dollar keeps going down. Keep in mind, we have quite a few companies that have more than $500 million in sales today. It's not far-fetched for the car company that wins over all other car companies. It's not far-fetched that company does another 10x on the revenue, in my view. By the way, this is, and you may know, this is the accomplishment of Tesla. They started from nothing, from a company who was going to go bankrupt, from being the best-selling car in the world, right? The best-selling car in the world, the Tesla Model Y, made in USA, by the way, for those cars sold in North America. This vehicle is the best vehicle in the world, the best sold vehicle in the world, more than the Toyota Corolla. And keep in mind, this is a car that cost 3 times as much as the Toyota Corolla, and it is the best-selling car in the world. This is unheard of. It's to make you wonder whether people ever wanted to buy Toyota Corollas. They probably bought Corolla because that's what they could afford. It was cheap. This is a car that people go out of their way to buy. So you go from zero to best in the world in an 11-year period. And if you look at the returns, and I'll show you the actual number for the return. So this is the actual number for the return of Tesla. You can see it's a neat doubling of the NASDAQ since IPO. The NASDAQ was 19.4%. Tesla is 40% return since IPO. absolutely outstanding to double the NASDAQ without taking any leverage, without doing anything like that, just owning the stock, right? Sometimes the best thing to do is just own the stock and do nothing. And of course, because this is a video about FUD, you may know that the FUD always use the most advantageous data to make their argument, right? That's the point of making an argument, is you're not being objective. You're using your most advantageous data to criticize someone else. And that's what people who criticize Tesla or criticize Bitcoin do, is they take data that advantages them and shows it. And that's why I'm going to do that for this video just for a second, just to add some equilibrium. This was the performance of Tesla when the value of Tesla was closer to fair value. So in late 2021, when the value of Tesla was closer to what I believe to be the fair value for the stock, that was a 60% yearly return type stock. A return for the stock very similar to the return of Bitcoin. This is unheard of for companies to return that much. Tesla belongs at the top with companies like Nvidia, with assets like Bitcoin. That is what I believe. That's why I own the stock. Anyways, let's go and talk about the news and why Tesla is trending in the tens and tens of thousands of tweets right now. So what is the news? The news is, and by the way, this is what I was saying earlier, sometimes owning the best assets is just doing nothing, and owning the best assets sometimes is enough to just achieve superior return. But the news, so some folks got their stop loss triggered, and they're pretty unhappy about that, and you may have seen this on social media. That's one aspect. And other people decided to sell because they trusted a legacy newspaper. So a legacy newspaper called Reuters, don't know if you've heard of it. Unfortunately, I have. That legacy newspaper that is always behind a paywall released an article saying that Tesla was stopping the Model 2 and stopping the development of the Model 2. And of course, many stockholders were in the stock for the Model 2, and when they tweeted that, they didn't tweet it, when they released that news article behind a paywall, when they did that, the stock dropped. I mean, that was a delta of 7 or 8%. It was just precipitous fall, right, on the news. And then Elon had to tweet and say that Reuters is lying and that the newspaper is lying and that it is not true, and then the stock went back up. And then I would add to this tweet from Unusual Whales that the FUD started back and saying, oh, wait a minute, what if it's Elon who's lying about Reuters lying? You know, that's how strong the FUD is. So you have Reuters who says, oh, Tesla stops Model 2. Elon says, oh, no, that's a lie. We're not stopping Model 2. And then the internet goes back to saying, oh, well, actually, it's Elon who's lying, even though Elon has a fiduciary duty to not lie because he's the CEO of the enterprise. It's not like he can lie without consequences. And so it all became this, this is how FUD works. It's like all you need to do is create doubt. If someone creates some doubt of any kind, that is enough for the stock to move and to mess up the reputation of a company or of a person. It's just create the doubt. It's kind of a Machiavellian strategy, if I could call it like that. So who's lying? Now it's just the noise. It's just Twitter noise. Who's lying? Is Musk lying? Is Reuters lying? Like, why do we care? I mean, we should not care about this. If you're a long-term holder, if you own a stock for 10 years, we should not care about this. And, the only people who can say someone's lying, someone's not lying is a court. And how long does it take for a court to do anything or to say anything, to say conclusively they're lying, they're not lying? 4 years? 5 years? You want to wait 5 years of proceedings and appeals to find out who was actually lying or not? You may remember the taking Tesla private 420 debacle way back in the day, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these are minute, inconsequential things compared to A, the news that the Model 2 is coming, and more importantly, B, what Elon Musk tweeted after that, which is Robotaxi is coming. And of course, when Elon Musk, 3 hours later, when he tweeted that, the internet was like, oh, he's lying too. Oh, he's just gonna botch a fake event together, and we're just gonna force Tesla employee to record fake things, even though we know that Robotaxi is coming. They've talked about it. We've been waiting for this announcement for years and years and years and years, and you always have a bunch of people there trying to just dispel FUD and trying to just spoil the party. So this is an amazing news that we have a Robotaxi event coming up. That's an amazing news. And even if after the unveil, even if after that it takes 3 years for the car to actually be out, we'd be in 2027, even if you do that, the stock should, markets are not rational, of course, but the stock at one point will be like a weighing machine, right? The stock market will be like a weighing machine and weigh the stock to its true value and the true potential of a company that actually has a robo-taxi, right? The fact that it's going to happen sometime in the future, in the near future, matters much more as to the exact date, and because this announcement of Robotaxi means a lot of things. It means FSD. It means higher take rates on FSD, more and more people paying $200 a month to get FSD. And then it means the Model 2, because we know the Robotaxi and the Model 2 are the same platform. It's just one is going to have a steering wheel, the other is not going to have a steering wheel. So this is major confirmation. And sure enough, the stock went up 3% after this. It repriced a little bit, but it barely undid the damage that was done by an article from Legacy Media, which may or may not be true. We will never find out, likely. Anyways, it just makes no sense. So let's look at this news from an actual stock standpoint. Like, what does it mean for the stock? Well, Robotaxi means a lot of things. One of the things that it means new induced demand. It means demand that wasn't there. It means that you're unlocking instant demand that wasn't there for your product. You're increasing the size of the transportation business. All of a sudden, if you have a Robotaxi, that means the cost per mile of Robotaxi is dropped perhaps by a 10x compared to Uber. That means your drive from the edge of town to go downtown, it was maybe $30 before with an Uber, and now it's going to be $3 or $2.90, right? It's you're unlocking so much value because you don't have to pay for a driver to be a taxi anymore. And what does that mean? Well, it means the elderly and it means teenagers all of a sudden get access to transportation. That unlocks so much disruption. It also means public transportation is essentially dead because the cost of a Robotaxi ride will be cheaper than the cost of any bus tickets. So if you're a city, better think about shutting down the public transportation because it's going to be cheaper. If you have robotaxis just going around, it's going to be much cheaper. It means that medium-range flights get disrupted, right? What was it, a 5-hour drive or 8-hour drive? You can now do in a car that drives itself. If a car drives itself, it is much safer. Many more people want to drive if the car drives itself. So you disrupt a lot of medium-range flights, right? Your cars become entertainment and workspaces, which is why I believe Elon Musk bought X. That's one of the big reasons, because the car is going to become the entertainment. That's why he's trying to turn X into a YouTube-style product, right? Real estate, suburbs get redesigned. What does it mean to live close to your workplace if you have a fleet of robotaxi going around and you can just hail one with your phone instantly, easily, and pay $3 to go on the other side of town? If you have a gas car, it's more than $3 to go on the other side of town. More than that, it means parking lots get disrupted. It means industries like ride sharing, like shipping, like a lot of transportation, all disrupted. All of this, how many trillions of stock value is all of this worth? Well, the answer is a lot. A whole lot. It's not priced into the stock. And I'm going to highlight ARK Invest here. The reason why I'm highlighting ARK Invest is because Cathie Wood, right? She's the one who's been bullish on robotaxi specifically. Different analysts have different theses as to why they own Tesla. Most analysts actually just look at Tesla for the auto business, and that's oftentimes why they say it's overvalued. They just look at the auto business. Some analysts look at energy. Other analysts look at Optimus. Cathie Wood is known to be the Robotaxi analyst. She's the one who bases most of the value of Tesla in the future. She bases it on Robotaxi, and you can see it here. If Robotaxi is unlocked, she's estimating the company will be 6.1 trillion in 2027. 67% of the value of the company will be driven by Robotaxis. So robotaxis will be the bigger part of the company, and she's estimating $1 billion revenue in 2027. Most of it from robotaxis, making more money from robotaxis, not most, but almost most, right? 44%, making tons of money from robotaxis, profits all from robotaxis. I mean, she's the analyst who's very, very bullish on that, and I guess this just double downs on the FUD machine. It doubles down on the FUD machine, except, and this is, I only own one ARK Invest fund. It's ARKW. That's the reason why I use ARKW in this analysis, because I don't own ARK, I own ARKW. But if I look at ARKW, by the way, did you know this, right? Read the FUD always with your own data. Did you know that ARKW just outperformed the NASDAQ again? It's outperformed the elite benchmark again. They've always outperformed the S&P 500, never fallen below the S&P 500. They've outperformed the NASDAQ again. That's without nitpicking. And my guess is that this is an index fund, active management index fund, that is going to continue to outperform the NASDAQ. So she has a lot of credibility in my eyes. Her prediction on Tesla has a lot of credibility in my eyes, but of course, she's entirely dismissed by the FUD machine, by the media, and that's understandable because she was pounding the table on Bitcoin in 2014. She was telling everybody, oh, I'm buying Bitcoin in 2014 when it was 100 times cheaper than it is today. She was buying Bitcoin in the $100 range, 100, 3 digits, right? It's 100x more expensive today. So anyways, of course, she would be entirely dismissed. So you're going to say, well, what is my conclusion for this video? Well, my conclusion stands in 3 words. Think for yourself. That's my conclusion. One should not make their decision based on the FUD. One should always think for themselves. So let me tell you some of the reasons, right? Be very careful whenever there's a lot of legacy news, and you know, on this channel, I've had my beef with CNBC. I've had my disappointment with CNBC. You know, the other day you had CNBC saying that Tesla was worth $17 and was almost going bankrupt. Just one analyst said that. He got all of the interviews on CNBC for saying that because you're gonna get a bunch of views, right? Come on, who realistically thinks that Tesla is gonna go bankrupt and be worth $17? Realistically, right? So legacy media, we need to be very careful because they are mad at Twitter/X taking their business away. And so you're going to have biases, right? Then in your own analysis, and this is the way I do it, let's be mindful, let's be aware of what I call the Elon timeline. It's true that he's kind of late, kind of often. He's kind of late, kind of often. So if he says it's going to be 1 year from now, maybe think 3 years, right? But that's just a matter of managing one's own expectation. It's just managing your own expectation. If you're a 10 years out investor, you know, you're just going to own the stock. It's going to do a bunch of nothing for like 5 years, and then suddenly it's going to explode to the upside, right? This is all it does. If you're a long-term investor, doesn't make a difference. The Elon timeline is important if you buy leaps. If you buy options, then that's a little important because you don't want them to expire worthless. But if you just buy equity, if you just buy the stock and you've agreed with yourself that the stock, you're going to own it for a decade plus, then it's nothing to worry about the timeline. The Elon timeline is the Elon timeline. Analysts hate Tesla a lot because of the Elon timeline, because when you do a 12 months out model, if the timeline doesn't manifest itself, your model doesn't work anymore. Okay, be careful, be aware that analysts like Cathie Wood, right, they need to sandbag. Because if Cathie Wood started incorporating Optimus in her analysis, if she started incorporating energy in her analysis, if she started incorporating what I discussed in a prior video, which is the idea of a national electric battery and using, you know, cars as the backbone of the electric grid, cars as a way to store the national energy, if you include trading, I mean, if you include all of these things into Tesla, she's quickly gonna get into price ranges for Tesla. I don't know. I mean, likely between $8,000 and $12,000 a share. If you were to add all of this, between $8,000 and $12,000 a year, and you know, then the FUD machine would be so strong that she would definitely never ever get invited on CNBC. So she has to be overly conservative, right? But YouTubers is kind of a different way. And YouTubers need views, especially the thumbnail. You know, I'm beginning to understand that the thumbnail is very important for the views. YouTubers need a lot of views, and so sometimes they need to exaggerate. And that's why sometimes you see a YouTuber's face with their mouth open. They're like, oh, Tesla's going bankrupt. And you put your face out, and you're like all upset, and you do some sort of a face and some sort of a fearful, and you put flames and fire. So YouTubers sometimes need to exaggerate. I'm hoping I don't do it as much as a lot of YouTubers, but you know, be mindful that I might be exaggerating a little bit sometimes in my videos, and so always take it with a grain of salt. And I know in the comments sometimes you tell me, you know, sometimes you take what I say with a grain of salt and not as bullish as me, right? Well, that's fine. So YouTubers have a bias to the upside, to the positivity, a bias to being long term. I would argue analysts like Cathie Wood, they have a bias to sandbag, and the truth likely is somewhere in the middle, somewhere between conservative Cathie, which is kind of how I'm going to call her, conservative Cathie, and the most enthusiastic Tesla hyper bulls, because you can go really, really strong on the Tesla spectrum and find people who will tell you that Tesla will end up owning absolutely everything, right? Which is fine, but it's a maxi belief, right? It's a little bit like Bitcoin maximalism. You can have Tesla maximalism. You know, we could go into the theories as to whether it's possible or not. I mean, if you start thinking about capitalism, it's true that if left unchecked, you end up with one company owning everything, right? That's the theory of if you watch a Pixar movie, by and large, right? By and large owns everything in Wall-E and in Pixar movies because it's capitalism to the max. So I'm not saying it's not possible to have a company owning everything. Seems highly unlikely. So be careful of the maxis, but the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. You know, someone who's regularly featured in legacy media, they're going to have to be more conservative. Someone who's on YouTube who needs views and exclusively needs views, they're going to have to be more positive, I would argue, in general. My point is, the FUD will likely never ever end. And this example here, what I have to tell you is Apple stock. Apple stock is the best example of that. If you've been hanging out on the internet for more than a decade, you know that in the early days of internet finance, Apple stock was the trending stock, right? In 08, 09, 2010, Apple stock was the trending stock. Apple stock was the Tesla of the day, and it was a victim of major FUD. And, you know, you had these commercial from BlackBerry people, and they were shooting a BlackBerry through an Apple, saying, oh, Apple, BlackBerry's coming for you, Apple. BlackBerry's going to kill you. And Apple has had its fair share of FUD. If you remember 2017, 2018, oh, Apple is the iPhone company. Apple officially changes its name to the iPhone company. You may remember all of that. The FUD continues on a stock like Apple, even though they seem to be doing a lot of strategic moves. You hear things like, well, people will never buy this. Just the other day, I saw Apple Vision trending again. It keeps trending. Apple Vision is being, taken on. They did the courageous thing by stopping their self-driving car unit, and they just leaked a few days ago that they're getting into the humanoid business, right? Apple is getting into the humanoid, it's implied, we won't know until the Unveil, but Apple is likely working on a humanoid business, just like Tesla's Optimus, just like Nvidia's Groot, just like Big Tech's investment in Figure AI and Anthropic to a lesser extent, right? They're a mix. So these companies, there's always going to be FUD. If you own Tesla, you can't sell on a headline, right? You can't buy on a headline either. You have to be comfortable with the FUD, comfortable with people hating your asset. And I'm very comfortable with that. And I can tell you this YouTube channel helps me grow a tough skin, because there is always people who tell me, oh, it's going to zero. Oh, it's going to die. Oh, this or that. And you grow a tough skin, and it doesn't hit you at the end of the day. So this was no financial advice, no investment advice. Yeah, this could have been the last advice. Keep in mind, not only all of this, but none of us, not me, not anybody, not Cathie, we're not your financial advisors. We don't have those very hard degrees. We don't have any of that. So this is not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is just entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.